So what made you want to become a lawyer?
So actually, my father had a work injury when I was little, and he hired an attorney, and he went through that process. And I just remember when I was little, not knowing what that process was or anything like that, but going to the lawyer's office with him, and I was like, oh, this is cool. Like, these people are nice.
What are sort of the main challenges to working these kinds of cases as opposed to working in some of the other kinds of cases that CLS deals with?
One big challenge is the emotional toll that it can take on the attorney or the person that's helping the survivor. Just knowing that whatever you're doing can make or break the case, and having that burden on your shoulders.
So if there was someone who's watching this that's a family member, friend, coworker, and they think that the person that they care about may be experiencing domestic violence, what kind of message would you want to send to them?
To listen and to not be judgmental. Unfortunately, if someone does leave a violent relationship, it takes on average 7 times for someone to leave.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to Litigation Corner. I'm your host, John Martino, the Director of Litigation at Community Legal Services, and I'm coming to you today to continue celebrating the 60th anniversary of CLS. Today's episode takes us to Flagler County, where legal aid brings hope and healing. Established in 1917 and named after industrialist Henry Flagler, Flagler County is one of Florida's youngest counties. Flagler County has quickly grown into a welcoming coastal community known for its miles of uncrowded beaches and natural preserves. With more than 40 parks and preserves, over 90 miles of scenic trails, Flagler County is the perfect place for anyone who loves to get outside and explore. Before it became the community we know today, Flagler County was once home to the Timucuan and Seminole peoples, and later became the site of Florida's largest sugar plantation, Bulow Plantation, now known as Bulow Plantation Ruins Historic State Park. It's a great location for an evening tour and to learn about the history of Flagler County. Today, this area is not only known for its coastal charm and rich history, but also for the resilience of its people. In 2023, Flagler County reported domestic violence offense rate of 261 people per 100,000 residents. CLS supports survivors by offering guidance through the legal system and helping individuals obtain injunctions for protection, also known as restraining orders. These legal orders can prevent an abuser from contacting or coming near the survivor, giving survivors a real sense of safety, especially when dealing with other legal challenges such as time-sharing or housing issues. Florida law provides several types of injunctions, each designed for different situations. Domestic violence injunctions protect people experiencing abuse from a family or household member. Dating violence injunctions help those harmed in dating relationships within the last 6 months. Repeat violence injunctions cover individuals harmed in multiple incidents by someone outside their family. Stalking injunctions protect people who have been stalked or cyberstalked, while sexual violence injunctions assist survivors of sexual assault. No matter the situation, CLS guides individuals through the entire process and often offers representation in court. I recently sat down with the wonderful Marcellina Spigner, the supervising attorney of our injunctions team, part of the family law unit. Marcellina has spent the vast majority of her career helping survivors of violence and does an amazing job with our young staff attorneys. I hope you enjoy this latest edition of Direct Examination. Marcellina, thank you so much for being with us today. You're the team lead supervising attorney of our family law unit's injunction team. But first, before we get into that, we get to know a little bit about you before we talk about the wonderful work that you do. So first, where did you grow up?
So I grew up in Michigan, in southeastern Michigan, and lived there until I went to college at the University of Michigan.
I'm sure that will come up.
And I moved to Florida to go to law school.
And so when you were growing up in Michigan, what was the first job you thought that you wanted to have?
I wanted to be a teacher. And then I had a niece and nephew and realized that that's not what I wanted to do. So yeah, I used to want to be a teacher.
Well, I think that you are still a teacher in a different sort of way for our staff attorneys. So what made you want to become a lawyer?
So actually, my father had a work injury when I was little, and he hired an attorney, and he went through that process. And I just remember when I was little, not knowing what that process was or anything like that, but going to the lawyer's office with him, and I was like, oh, this is cool. Like, these people are nice. They're helping my daddy, and they have, I like the office setting, and I want to do that one day is help people and have an office. So that's how it came about.
Where'd you go to law school?
I went to law school at Florida Coastal.
Okay. So after that, where did you start your legal career?
I actually was a certified legal intern at Jacksonville Area Legal Aid at JALA in Jacksonville, and ended up working there for, I think, 8 years as an attorney after I passed the bar.
And was that family law as well, or were you doing other things there?
Started off as a family law attorney, baby family law attorney. Started off in injunctions, and eventually I did for a couple of years do Social Security work, which was also extremely fulfilling. And then I did that until I transitioned down here to community legal services.
Well, and I think that's important for our clients, in the family law unit as well, because income stability for survivors of domestic violence is a real challenge.
Correct.
Because a lot of times they're facing financial exploitation or financial restrictions on their ability to work. So I know our public benefits unit can also help with that.
Correct.
And we can send cases to them.
Yep.
So as I alluded to earlier, you are now our supervising attorney of our family law injunction team. First of all, what are the types of injunctions in Florida?
So in Florida, there are 5 types of injunctions for protection. There's domestic violence, dating violence, repeat violence, stalking, and sexual violence.
When it comes to working with survivors of domestic violence, there's a lot of challenges. I guess my main question would be for you and your team, what are sort of the main challenges to working these kinds of cases as opposed to working in some of the other kinds of cases that CLS deals with?
One big challenge is the emotional toll that it can take on the attorney or the person that's helping the survivor. Just knowing that whatever you're doing can make or break the case, and having that burden on your shoulders. That's one of the challenges. Another challenge is, just the nitpicky things of getting paperwork in time, getting paperwork to us in time, because these cases, they're pretty quick. I mean, they're supposed to be done within 15 days. So,
right.
So the time is another challenge.
Yeah, no, and it's a real challenge to, number one, convince a domestic violence survivor to file the injunction because they're worried about retribution if they don't get it. But then, yeah, if they do file it and we have a hearing coming up, to get them ready in that 2-week period is a challenge. So when you are approaching an interview for the first time with one of those domestic violence survivors, what is your approach? How do you make sure they understand that we're on their side?
Listen. Because a lot of times when somebody's looking for help, especially if this is their first time seeking assistance, people are telling them what they need to do, just like their abuser's telling them what they need to do. I usually give them more leeway in just getting everything out there, just listening to what they have to say, and acknowledging what they've been through. Because sometimes we get calls and the person's situation doesn't rise to the level or doesn't fit within one of the injunctions for protection, but just listening to them, understanding what they've been through, acknowledging what they've been through, and then trying to brainstorm another option for them.
Just letting them know that we believe them really lets them know that, we're there for them. What are some of the myths that you would like to dispel about survivors of domestic violence?
That it's their fault. That's the big thing. They get that a lot from family and friends, that it's their fault, that what's happening to them happened to them. Another myth is that it wouldn't happen to you or wouldn't happen to someone in your family, because unfortunately 1 in 4 women in this country are going to experience some type of domestic or sexual violence against them. And so for people to think that it can't happen to me or that happens to someone else, that's a huge myth.
Sometimes people don't see it either, right? Like that someone close to them could be experiencing something like that. So if there was someone who's watching this that's a family member, friend, coworker, and they think that the person that they care about may be experiencing domestic violence, what kind of message would you want to send to them?
To listen and to not be judgmental. Unfortunately, if someone does leave a violent relationship, it takes on average 7 times for someone to leave. And so if you're there and you tell them, I'm here for you, whatever you need, and then they go back, they're more likely to come back to you for help that next time.
And I think that to that point, I think people don't understand all the complicating factors associated with getting out. The role that kids play in that decision making, the role that pets play in that decision making.
Financing.
Yeah, and financial being the most, because if the abuser has not let you work for a long period of time, it's going to be hard to get a job.
Or if the abuser it takes your paycheck.
Correct.
When you come home.
Right.
And another thing that I would want people to know is that when a survivor does make that decision to leave, that is the most lethal time for them. So just helping that person's safety plan. So reaching out to your local domestic violence agency, which here is the Family Life Center, or going online to the hotline.org. They have awesome resources for survivors, for family and friends.
And I think that's part of the tough thing too, because we try to empower these survivors that we're talking about, to let them take ownership over the fact that, they're fighting back through the civil justice system by filing these injunctions. But like you said, there's risk associated with doing it. And we have to make them aware of that too.
Correct.
If someone happens to be watching this interview and they are themselves suffering from domestic violence, what kind of message would you want to share with them about the work that we do and what they should be doing to extricate themselves from those situations?
So one, that it's not your fault. And so nothing that you did caused you to deserve this. And that there are resources available. There are people who believe you, who will believe your story. You're not alone in going through all of this.
One of the other things that we've been doing, as we talked about earlier, is we do focus some on sexual violence injunctions as well. And that's kind of its own different kind of case. It's in some ways even more complicated. And the survivors are, it's a different level of trauma that's involved in that we need to be aware of when we're talking to them. So when we have a situation like that, what are some of the differences and the difficulties in representing survivors of sexual violence?
So a lot of times with survivors of domestic violence, they've reached out for help. They're on their way up. They've reached their low and they're on their way up, and you're helping them get there. Someone who has recently experienced sexual violence, they've not gone through all the trauma yet. So they're going to be experiencing all of that trauma while you're assisting them through this process. So there's also another level of just embarrassment and shame with sexual violence that some domestic violence survivors don't necessarily have. And with the injunctions for protection, there's that extra level of it has to be reported to law enforcement, and you have to be cooperating with law enforcement before you can even, file an injunction for protection. So those are some of the differences.
Yeah, and I think working with sexual violence survivors, the other challenge is those situations are sometimes so traumatic that they can't remember things in the right order. So we have to really take special care to try to work with them on those kinds of things. And sometimes the problem is it takes months for them to figure that stuff out. Sometimes they need counseling and assistance to kind of piece things together from the night of their abuse. The other thing is if there's a domestic violence case, a criminal case going on, that's related to our injunction, maybe that's going to go on for another 6 months or something like that. With a survivor of sexual violence, if there's going to be a criminal case, they're at the very beginning of that, and then maybe another 2-3 years of re-traumatization before they're done with their process.
Exactly.
So as I've talked about, you're our supervising attorney of our injunctions team. What is your leadership style, or how do you handle working with newer staff attorneys?
So my leadership style, I'm kind of like a coach and cheerleader. So people always come to me with questions, even if they're not on my team or not even in the unit sometimes. But I like helping people brainstorm and get through the problem or through the issue.
I think one of the important things with being a leader is, we make mistakes. We've made mistakes in our careers, and letting the staff attorneys know about those mistakes so that they don't have to repeat them, I think is important.
Right.
What do you say to clients to empower them? What do you tell them to say, you can do this? What is your approach to that?
I tell them they can do it. Even if someone's told them, if they truly believe that they can't, they can do it. They don't have to do it alone. There's support people there, doing that friendly handoff to other agencies, just letting them know that I believe them, and let's figure out what the next step is.
And what do you tell you? We were talking about young you getting involved in this field. What do you tell kind of newer or young staff attorneys that want to get into this field, or law students? What do you tell them about taking on a career in this field?
To take care of themselves, and not necessarily don't do as I say, not as I do sometimes. But to first take care of themselves. That it can be stressful, but we can't save the world, but we can try.
Yeah, and we can certainly help someone individually.
Right.
Yep. All right. Thank you so much, Marcellina.
Thanks, John.
Thank you to Marcellina for the interview and for all the amazing work you and your team does to protect survivors of violence. Thanks for watching.